Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We start today's video with the story about a gas station employee, a pair of stolen sunglasses, and a customer who somehow thinks it's the cashier's job to play Batman. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Sorry, Karen, I forgot to tackle the shoplifter like Batman. For context, I'm a 21-year-old male who works at a gas station that puts pictures of thieves on the door, basically our wall of shame to try and deter people from stealing. It doesn't work. We currently have a picture of some guy on the door who stole sunglasses a while ago with the caption, "Thief, please help identify," written above his picture. This lady, we'll call her Karen, who's around 40, comes into the store and up to my register with her energy drinks. Karen: "So somebody robbed you?" Me: "Not robbed, just stole." Karen: "You didn't try to go after him?" At this point, she's already getting upset at me, and I'm just baffled. Me: "No, I'm not going to risk my life over sunglasses." Apparently, this is not what she wanted to hear, because this set her off. Karen: "Oh, so you just let people come in here and steal whatever they want and you do nothing about it? What are you going to do, put their picture on the door and hope they come back?" She also said something about someone being able to come in with a gun and rob me at gunpoint and how I would just give them the cash without a struggle. Me: "No, we file a police report. Regardless, it's not legal for me to..." Lady proceeds to cut me off. Karen: "I can't believe you just allow people to come into your store and steal whatever they want and you do nothing about it. Keep in mind I'm a college student getting paid $14 an hour, and by no means do I own this place." Me: "Ma'am, I don't own this store. I'm just a cashier." Karen: "Yes, you do. I can't believe you just allow people to do this." At this point, I just want to get this woman's transaction over and have her GTFO. Me: "Just hit 'I'm done' on the screen." This lady proceeds to not listen to me and press every other button on the keypad, but not the giant "I'm done" button on the screen. Karen: "I hit everything and it's not working." Me: "Yes, because you didn't hit 'I'm done' on the screen." Finally, she understood and hit the button. As she's leaving, she says, "I'm not trying to argue with you. I just think it's effed up that you allow people to do that." Then she storms out. My manager came out of the bathroom at the beginning of this and was listening to the whole thing. We both just looked at each other, completely baffled by this lady. Moral of the story: every cashier should become Batman and put their lives on the line to stop crime. Edit: I forgot to mention the fact I wasn't even working when the theft occurred. Even if I wanted to do something, I couldn't have. Wow. I can't believe you'd seriously let a hypothetical robber take all the money in the cash register just because he's got a gun. You're telling me you wouldn't heroically beat up the bad guy with your nunchucks and your laser beams? WTF is this world coming to? Are our gas stations not sacred anymore? And our second story. Our HOA president used our yard like her personal side entrance until I shut her down for good. A few years back, we lived in one of those cloned suburban neighborhoods, cul-de-sacs, precision lawns, and more HOA politics than Congress. Most of our neighbors were retirees, and if you had kids, you might as well have been hosting a metal concert. My wife and I had 2 little girls, and even something as simple as riding their bikes down the street caused an uproar. "Stay out of the road, it's dangerous," they'd yell. So the girls moved to the sidewalk, only to get scolded again for damaging landscaping and trespassing. I wish I were joking, but one time they picked a dandelion and a woman acted like they uprooted a prized orchid. But the crown jewel of suburban tyranny lived right next door, Karen. Karen was the president of the HOA, the self-declared neighborhood watchdog, and the high priestess of passive aggression. She had a face like she chewed lemon rinds for breakfast and eyes that scanned the street like a prison warden. Her husband, Bill, was a different story, quiet, courteous, a retired vet who seemed like he just wanted peace and a freshly mowed lawn. But Karen, she was the type who'd report your Halloween decorations for being offensive to property values and then let her yappy Pomeranian bark at 6 a.m. every single day. She treated our property like her personal overflow space. Didn't like how her trash bins cluttered her yard? She'd roll them into our lawn. Putting up political signs? Of course she planted one on our front strip, without asking. Worst of all, she had a gate on the side of her house that opened directly onto our yard and used it like a service entrance. Bill's mower, her giant garden carts, their leaf bags, all dragged across our grass like it was theirs. Now, let's talk about my wife. She's brilliant, but God bless her, parking's not her spiritual gift. We've got a wide, slanted 3-car driveway, and somehow she still manages to roll one tire across the edge of the lawn every time she parks. It wasn't a big deal, just a small rut that turned muddy after rain, but Karen made it her life's mission to wage war over that patch of grass. One chilly November afternoon, I pulled into the driveway with my girls in the back seat and saw Bill putting up one of those pre-lit Christmas trees. My oldest, standing on our driveway, smiled and said, "I love your lights." That sweet moment lasted about 5 seconds. Karen came storming out of the house like she'd caught us keying her car. "Don't talk to us," she snapped at my daughter. "You people don't respect anyone's property." Then she turned to me. "Tell your wife if she drives on my lawn one more time, I'm having a dump truck bring gravel and block your entire driveway. Maybe that'll teach you some respect." I couldn't believe it. I was holding my kid's backpack in one hand and school folders in the other, just stunned. She was screaming at a child and threatening to block our access to our own home. I didn't say a word, just ushered my daughters inside and handed them off to my wife. Then I grabbed the envelope I'd stashed for months in a kitchen drawer, a certified copy of our property survey. I knew this day was coming, walked straight back out and handed it to Karen. No small talk. "This line right here," I said, pointing to the map, "that's your property. This is mine. Your gate on my side. Your trash bins on my curb. Your garden carts and leaf bags, stop bringing them through my yard. And as for that gravel threat, I'd love to see you try. It'll make the lawsuit easier." She blanched, red in the face, flustered, tried to sputter some nonsense about how everyone in the neighborhood shares space, and I just cut her off. "You want to live in a commune? Move to one. Until then, keep off my damn lawn." That was the last time we exchanged words. But the story doesn't end there. A year later, a roofing crew showed up to replace Karen and Bill's shingles. Of course, they tried to roll their equipment up our driveway. I stepped outside and calmly redirected them to her yard, explaining in great detail the history of boundary violations and the legal survey. They didn't love it, but they complied. Her once manicured front lawn was reduced to mud and tire tracks after 2 days of that heavy machinery grinding up and down. Oh, and it rained hard. That lawn looked like a swampy disaster zone. And I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. We moved out a few months later. Before we left, I taped a card to their door. "Bill, thank you for always being civil. Karen, we hope your next neighbors enjoy the same generosity you showed us. Good luck." Saw Karen at Home Depot last week. Same scowl, same judgmental glare. She clocked me instantly. I smiled wide, gave a polite wave, and walked off. Because nothing feels better than knowing you set boundaries, held the line, and left her garden full of ruts and regrets. It's so weird to me that the generation that's going to go down in history as having the best overall standard of living since the dawn of civilization managed to produce so many grumpy people. And our last story. She stole 2 feet of my yard. I took $17,000 of hers. Okay, so I recently purchased a home, and I'm in the process of putting architectural plans together to remodel it. The home is currently vacant and has been for the last 3 months. So when I pulled into the driveway one chilly afternoon, I knew something was off the second I saw the backyard. Turns out peace wasn't on the menu. Enter Karen. There was a mountain of dirt piled up against the back fence. At first I assumed maybe a utility company had made a mistake or something, but as I walked around the side of the house, I realized what had happened, and it was worse than I imagined. The fence dividing my property and the neighbor's gone, completely dismantled like it had never existed. And on the other side, Karen, my next-door neighbor, standing triumphantly next to a massive pit that she and a contractor had carved into her yard. "What the hell's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, hey, you're the new owner," Karen said, waving like we were old friends. "Oh, if you don't mind, we needed a place to put the dirt while we dig out the garage foundation. We'll move it back once we're done, no big deal." I blinked. "You took down my fence without asking. You dumped literal tons of soil into my backyard? That's a big deal." She laughed. "It's just dirt. It'll all be gone once the snow melts, I promise." We didn't think anyone would mind. That "we" made my blood pressure spike. I looked over at the contractor operating the backhoe in her yard. He gave me a sheepish wave, then immediately went back to ignoring me. "You also excavated over my property line," I added, pointing to where the pit clearly cut past where the fence used to be. Karen shrugged. "It's just a couple feet. It's not like you were using that part." "I wasn't using it because it's winter and the house is vacant, not because it's up for grabs." She rolled her eyes. "It's temporary. Chill." I left before I said something I'd regret. I stood in my backyard staring at the dirt pile. She violated property lines, and she was completely unbothered about it. No apology, no request, just assumed she could hijack my land for her little garage project. The next day I came back with a surveyor. I wanted everything documented. Sure enough, she'd cut more than 2 feet into my yard with her excavation and had dumped the better part of 15 yards of soil onto my grass. The surveyor was baffled. They didn't even try to hide it. I knocked on Karen's door again, this time with paperwork in hand. She opened with a tight smile that vanished the second she saw the documents. "This is trespassing," I told her calmly, "and unauthorized construction on private property. You've got until the end of the week to remove every ounce of that dirt, rebuild the fence, and restore the property to the condition it was in before you touched it, or I'm calling my lawyer." Karen crossed her arms. "You're really going to make a fuss over dirt?" "Yes," I said, "and over a fence, and over you using my property like it's your personal landfill." She slammed the door in my face. So I followed through. I had my lawyer draft a formal cease and desist letter and sent it over. Then I contacted the city's zoning and building department. They confirmed Karen hadn't pulled a single permit for her construction. When the inspector came out a few days later, Karen tried to play the victim card, claiming she didn't know she needed one and that it was a miscommunication with the builder. The inspector wasn't having it. A stop work order went up that afternoon. Her crew left, and the dirt pile remained frozen and immobile, just like her smug attitude. 2 weeks later, I filed a civil claim. Between the damage to my yard, the cost of removal, and the need to restore the grade of the land before spring runoff, it wasn't a small number. The funniest part, Karen had the nerve to send me a text saying I was ruining neighborly relations by getting lawyers involved. As if I had trespassed on her land. I ignored it. She got her court summons soon after. The judge didn't even blink. Once the survey and photos were presented, it was over. Karen was ordered to pay damages, cover cleanup costs, and she had to pay for a new fence to be professionally installed, on my terms this time. The final bill was just over $17,000. She tried to stall the payment, but the court tacked on additional fees for every month she delayed. By the end of it, she had to remortgage her property to cover the judgment. Karen still lives next door, though we haven't spoken since court. She mostly avoids eye contact now, which suits me fine. Wow, $17K and a forced remortgage? Now she gets to look at that beautiful fence she paid for every day and hopefully thinks twice before turning someone else's backyard into her sandbox. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.